Does anyone here in the class know what the name of the bow is in Italian? You see it written on the music. It's either pizzicato or, do you know what the other term that they write? Do you know, Lydia? Arco. Okay, so that's the name of the bow in Italian. Now, what does arco sound like in English to you? Arch, okay? And what does an arch do? Who can tell me what an arch does? What does it do, Rachel? Is it straight? Is it straight across? It's bent, right? It has a curve, okay? And that I'd like to stress to everyone when you're setting up young people with a bow, that if naturally, yes, we loosen the bow at night and we tighten it when we play. But the tightening should always include the fact that the bow does have an arch, and the modern bow is arched downwards. So it must retain this arch in the shape. Many times you'll see young kids that over-tighten the bow and it comes straight out, and that's too far. I don't want to do that with a very good bow, so I will not do that. But we must retain the arch shape on the bow. Okay. Why don't you pick up the pencil from my hand? Just pick up the pencil. See, that's beautiful. Again, try again. Just relax your hand, and in the most natural way, pick up. You see how beautifully you did that? See how when she took the pencil, her forefingers in the front were grasping lightly, and her bent thumb behind was behind the middle finger. It's just the most natural of movements. So I work with children first grasping simple objects that they're comfortable with, because the bow that has a frog and it's heavy can be very confusing to children, and children want to grab at them. So we just naturally just pick up a pencil and put it down. Pick it up and put it down, okay? Now another way we can go to the bow, and why don't we have Gabe do that, is if you were swimming the crawl. I'm going to hold the bow here, Gabe. Now, why don't you feel like you were swimming to your bow? Right, beautiful. Here, come again. I'll hold the bow on the string and just come swimming to the bow. So we come to the bow from this motion, a forward motion, and we grasp the stick of the bow with the fingers first, and you have to feel, get a wonderful feeling like you know the bow, and then just softly and gently add the thumb in the back after the fingers are down. Because if you go thumb in the thumb hole and then add the fingers, there's much more of a tendency to grab the bow and to press with the thumb. So I find it very useful. Show again, Gabe. The swimming to the stroke. That's wonderful. Now, Lydia, I'd like you to demonstrate putting the pinky on top of the stick. What's very important in the cello bow hold is the sense of pronation that we're going to need as we go to the tip of the bow. So I usually, let's see who has a prominent little bone on their finger. You see? Here, Rach. Now, if I had a marker pen, I would put, see, is this a marker pen? Will it mark? Oh, yeah, Ruth. Brilliant. Okay, let's do this right on your hand. What we do often with little children is put a little X right on their wrist bone here, okay? Or with little children, I go like this, and I make it into a watch, you know, or something. I tell them to look at your watch on your hand. So, Lydia, here, you come around, and yes, get into a bow position, and always be able to see the wrist bone. The wrist bone must always be higher than this part of the hand, so that you're really ready as you move to the tip to pronate into the tip of the bow. Okay? Okay? So let's go frog, middle, tip. See? And we always have to see this bone. Now, another very good exercise to do to get the feeling of the pattern of the bow is go to the tip of the bow. Now, Lydia, walk down with your hand to the tip of the bow here. This is the way the hand should feel at the frog of the bow. when you're on a down bow. Now come out, walk back, and this is the way we feel at the tip. Tip, now walk down, that's the way. Now each person's arm is a slightly different length. So by doing this little exercise, we get to know exactly the passage that our bow should make on the string and the feeling in our arm, because so much of string playing is based on feelings, on sensations, right? It's what you're feeling, and you have to feel. So a very good thing, you put the bow at the tip like this, you relax your hand. Everybody do this. Hold the bow at the tip, right. Now relax your hand, get a good bow grip, and let's everyone put our pinkies on top of the stick. So we're getting great pronation. Now I want you to walk up this stick here. Now this is the way you're going to feel at the frog. Now follow your arm and feel what you're doing all the way out. Now this is the way your arm is when it's making a correct bow stroke, see? Because it's staying at all times in contact with the bow. Great, great, great. Now, one of my great teachers, Gregor Piatigorsky, he would have us at different times hold the bow also. Instead of just holding the bow at the frog, which can be a little confusing, he'd have you hold the bow here and then pretend that this part of the bow was the frog. Everybody try that. Let's hold the bow here. Now let's pretend it's a frog and make a good sound right here. And D, and D. Good. Now let's go to the middle of the bow, everybody. Now feel that again as the frog. Now imagine that we have a mini bow. Okay, mini bow, half bow. Okay, now make a frog here. Try and go to the tip, but keep your pronation. Lydia, lid, sweetheart. That's right. That's it, Rachel. Very good. Good. That's Rachel's doing it perfectly. Now let's go close it at 3/4. That feels really funny. And that's to help you to get to know the tip of your bow. Now let's all go down to the frog and see how the sound feels when you're at the frog. Does it feel like you know the bow a little better after doing that? Gabe says no. A little. It's just to teach you the feelings. Like Piatigorsky would always say, know the wood. He'd have you climb up and down the bow like this, like a monkey, up and down the bow. So you just get to know, what does the wood of my bow feel like? That's great, Rachel, yeah. Yeah, it's okay. Rachel has a blue bow. That's fun. That's interesting, right? So we'll go down. So you get to know it's a living thing. The bow has to be like an extension of your arm. So you want to always know the feeling of your bow, so that when you're creating a sound, it's something that's always alive, okay? And it's not a dead sound that you're creating, okay?